good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We are going to be together for about the next 45 minutes, and then we will have some questions and answers at the end. We're happy to stay on with you. Just to answer any and all of your questions. And I am Heather Wertman, and I'm from Defined Learning. I'm the Director of Educational Collaboration and Learning at Defined. And I would like to share with you that I'm coming to you from Northeastern Pennsylvania, and I have used Defined Learning with my own students in the classroom over the last, I would say, 6 years or so. And I really enjoyed using it with my own students, and I was doing some part-time work with Defined, and I just became full-time with them this past summer. So I'm happy to share experiences with you today or in future trainings. I'm part of the curriculum team and professional development team. We also have Lynn here. Lynn could introduce herself.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Lynn Erickson. I'm a K-12 technology integration specialist for Stafford Public Schools. And I was just introduced to Defined Learning this past fall at the training that was offered to all state teachers. And I am so excited to share our experiences with Defined Learning with all of you today.
Thank you, Lynn. And we also have Mike Speziale with us, and you'll hear from him a little bit later today. This is what our agenda looks like. We just introduced ourselves. We're going to tell you who we are in case you don't know what is Defined Learning. We're going to showcase some student samples and hear from Lynn showcasing her work. I will show you how to navigate the Defined Learning website in a quick fashion, but we'll get you logged in. I'll show you how to search, customize, assign to students. You could take away an idea of a Defined Learning task to be used with your students or your school for any principals or leaders that we have on with us. And as I mentioned, Mike Speziale from MEDA will be here about a little research study that we would love for you to participate in. And we will leave at least 15 minutes, if not longer, for any questions that you have, or if you want us to show you something in the site as a follow-up. With all of that said, Lynn will go ahead and get us started.
So what is Defined Learning? Defined Learning is a way for students to build creative thinking and problem-solving skills as they participate in various project-based learning opportunities. Each interdisciplinary project is career-focused and allows the teacher to modify each creative learning experience. So we connect students to real-world experiences and get them ready and prepared for their future using those problem solving and creative thinking skills. So I'm going to take you through a little bit about how we were introduced to Defined Learning and how we are implementing it in Stafford Public Schools. So first I want to say that Stafford Public Schools has two big initiatives going on right now. And one is we just got through developing our Portrait of a Graduate. And this basically has outlined the 21st century skills that our district believes students should embody and exemplify by graduation to succeed in career, college, and life. And we feel that Defined Learning and its project-based learning platform is really aligned to that district vision. The other thing that we are in the process of redeveloping, and we've had over the last 3 years, is our strategic educational framework. And basically what that was developed to provide the district with just an overall vision to inform decision-making for district improvement and identify goals for school improvement. And one of our short-term actions is to identify and develop technology experiences, which include project-based learning experiences to promote critical thinking and problem solving. So Defined Learning is just fully connects with everything that we're trying to implement within our district. So every performance task in Defined Learning follows the GRASP format, which is developed by Jay McTighe. And I want to say that when I introduced myself, one thing I didn't say that I did is I am actually a invention convention coordinator for Stafford Public Schools. So we have every fifth grader in our district that works on invention convention, and I also run it for a middle school after school computer club program. And honestly, the GRASS method is exactly what we're using for invention convention. So basically, students are coming up with a goal for their scenario, which would basically be like, what is the problem that they're trying to solve for their invention? And then what would be their role throughout the whole process? Who would they be creating that invention for? So who would be their audience? And then what would be that situation and why they were creating? So maybe they've also had to do some research to kind of back up their reasonings. And then what type of product or performance are they going to prepare? So they have to do some type of invention, and then their performance would be a video presentation, pitch presentation to the judges and the community. And then of course we have an entire rubric that ties all that together. So the standards and criteria on how their work will be judged. So I'd like to take you through what our district has done with Define Learning since my introduction to the platform in late fall. So during our November Professional Development Day, I worked with middle school and high school teachers and provided them training on Define Learning. So we basically had teachers experience a performance task like a student would. So as you can see on the screen, we chose the backpack designer. And we took them through all the steps of what a student would experience through that project. So I gave them the opportunity to design their backpack based on their group's needs. So teachers got together into groups and focused on a particular need of that group for the backpack design. So they had to come up with a target audience. We introduced them to the career video and the guiding question. I took them through the parts of the task, and of course, due to time constraints, because we only had a half-day PD, their task was to draw a design for their backpack, providing key characteristics of the design for their targeted user and present that to their fellow teachers or students, if you want to say, in a 1 to 2 minute pitch defending their reasoning for making the choices that they did, and also the design constraints of their particular design. So as you can see on the screen, the following examples from staff show that they designed their backpacks for hikers, number one, in various climates. They also designed one for educators. Continuing on, they also designed specifically for a woman's shape. And then of course, we had the fun group that did a 3-day weekender party backpack. So then from there, staff shifted from the student role to the educator role and provided feedback on the benefits of this particular project. And then also as they look through Define Learning, gave feedback on how they felt the performance tasks would be for their students. So as you can see, we had a teacher that felt this is a great opportunity for students to get that answer to the age-old question of when will I need this? Same thing with collaboration without the stress of knowing the content, and really just the interdisciplinary projects that focus on every subject area. So during the training, we had a middle school music teacher that was involved in that training. She found a performance task that afternoon, and it was aligned to an upcoming unit she was teaching. So she decided to tailor the project to her timeline and the elements of her unit. So she pulled up the Creating a Superstar Musical Group Making Sound. She had the opportunity to pick and choose what she wanted her students to create. And that was certainly one of the biggest points with Define Learning, is that you don't have to do every single task at hand. You can pick and choose what would be great for your students, either due to time or due to giving students that voice and choice for what they want to create. So some of the things that she had her students do is she had them sketch their design of a brand new instrument. So as you can see on the screen, they had to come up with some new instruments for their new musical group. draw a diagram of how their sound would be produced and travel from their instruments, create a concert poster that features their newly designed instrument, and compose a 32 measure piece that includes a 8 measure solo for their new instruments. So as you can see on the side, that is one of a student project. So they sketched their designs of their brand new instrument, drew a diagram demonstrating how the sound would be produced and travels through their instrument, created a concert poster that featured their brand new instruments and then their advertisement for their performance. And then they composed the 32 measure piece for each band member, had an 8 measure solo, performed that to the class by clapping the rhythms. And then from the poster to the examples of the newly designed instruments, you can see the various products that students produce. Now, I do want to say, this particular teacher is brand new to the classroom, brand new to teaching, and found this as a very easy experience for her. It's something that was already developed. She already had a rubric to assess the students. She gave that to the students ahead of time, and she said they had an amazing experience through the whole thing. So kudos to her, and thanks to Define Learning, obviously, for such an amazing opportunity for our students. So one of my roles in the district is to co-teach or to teach lessons in various classrooms. So I've been implementing a lot of computational thinking programs and lessons to students currently right now from grades K through 5. So I've been working with students in various grade levels on these computational thinking activities. One of the grade levels I'm currently working with is kindergarten classes and introducing coding to students. So I came across this amazing project to prepare the students for these coding activities. I really wanted them to have a good understanding of how robots are used to help solve problems. So I introduced them to the career video, as you can see on the screen, for robots. There was a career video about robots and how they're used to help solve problems. And then we decided to just brainstorm. What are robots? I also found some other videos to kind of help them through to understand what robots are. And during the week, and besides just meeting with me, they brainstormed and kept coming up with new ideas of what they felt a robot was. We had discussions about the jobs that robots do. And as you can see on the screen, those are all of their ideas for what they thought a robot was. And though that chart was added throughout the week, and their performance task at the end was to design a robot that could help solve a problem that they currently have. So here are some examples of student work and their designs. So as you can see, we have a robot where a student needed that to help them put the worm on the hook. And another student whose job was to, they wanted their robot to drive a car and tell them exactly where to go. And then obviously to clean M&Ms, they must have a problem with dropping M&Ms on the floor. So their robot was going to be designed to clean those M&Ms off the floor with a mop, and also to help them make crafts. So the next step for Stafford Public Schools and Define Learning is in a couple of weeks, we're going to be providing our elementary teachers with training on Define Learning. And we're also in the process of developing our next 3-year tech plan. Our focus is going to be on project-based learning aligned to the portrait of a graduate. And also we want to see more experiences of project-based learning in lower grade levels, so that by the time the students get to 5th grade and are working on Invention Convention, they'll have a really good understanding of project-based learning, have a really good understanding of inventive thinking. And we're also currently using Rubicon Atlas to align our curriculum and include embedded performance tasks. And we really feel like the projects in Define Learning will do a nice job of aligning to our current curriculum.
Thank you so
Heather,
much.
I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Thank you. That was wonderful. So I'm going to highlight a few things and take everybody into the site so you could see how user-friendly it is, and highlight some of those features that you heard Lynn talk about. You did see this screen, and Lynn did a nice job of sharing with you that all of our performance tasks within our site They are based around the GRASP model. So I just wanted to remind you of that, and I'll point that out to you when we get into the site. And then the other thing that I would like to point out is, so our projects or products are tied to a performance task, and the performance tasks are those ideas that you heard Lynn reference already. One of them is called robots. One was the musical Superstar group. One was the backpack. We have over 500 different tasks in the site. And then every single task has at least 4 to 7 products or projects. And the reason we have so many, we want to have a variety in order for teachers to offer different standards, meet different standards, and meet different learning styles for our students in front of us. And we do recommend that you choose 1 to 3 products from our tasks. And you could select those for your students to use, especially maybe if it's your first time around, or you could offer students choice to meet their different learning styles. So I'd like to talk a little bit about getting into the website Defined Learning. Now, everyone on this call definitely has access to the site, but there are a couple of options here. So I'm going to stay on this screen. And if you just wanted to listen to this first and then open a new tab, you have an option of going to definedlearning.com, and Lynn was so kind to put it in the chat box if you just want to copy and paste it into a new tab. You could click on the orange login button in the top right, and then you could click the blue box on the left that states Defined Learning Portal. And once you get there, you'll see some different options. Now, if you're on the call and you already know how your school is set up, you could simply click sign in with Google, Clever, ClassLink. And if you're not sure how your school is set up, no worries at all. When you get to this part, if you take a look at the top of the screen, you'll see a little green font that says new users or access code. And if you click that, you will enter connect in that access code box, CONNECT, for Connecticut, and you're connecting with Defined Learning. And once you put that in there, then it will ask you a couple of questions. If you could put in your name, your email, your school email, and it will ask you to put in a username and a password. Just remember that password because that's what you'll use to get in. And if you would like, you could certainly drop your name or email in our chat box. And I know we did this the other day. Somebody wanted to know what type of login their school is, and our wonderful implementation team, I will pass that along to them. And I believe we even have someone from our team on the call, and she will get back to you with what type of login your school is. But for now, you could use that access code connect. And I'll just pause for a couple of seconds as you're filling out that information. And once you're into the site, you're looking at a screenshot. I'm not in the site yet, but this will allow you to see where you are, what our main dashboard looks like. Sure, no problem at all. I see a remark. Let me just back up here a second. So if you go to definedlearning.com, Lynn just dropped it in the chat box. You could copy and paste, put that right in your address bar. And if you could toggle back and forth, I'm showing, yep, you click on the Defined Learning portal. And then once you're there, if you know what type of sign-in you are for your school, sign in with Google or Clever or ClassLink, that should take you right in. But if you're not sure, then you could hit the green font that says new user and access code, and you could just put the word connect in the access code box and fill out the prompts. And it will take you to our main homepage, and I'm back on it on my tab. If you want to see what it looks like, it will take you to this page. Yes. If you have any more questions, just drop it in the chat there. Lynn is watching it too, and I'm going to continue. I'm going to leave our little slide deck, and I'm going to log into the site. All right, so now that everyone is logged in, or you could follow along with my screen, that's fine too, whatever you're comfortable with. Now that you're logged in, let me show you the first part, a really quick overview of finding a task or project, because I would hope that you would find something that you're interested in trying with your students. No problem. Lynn, could you drop the access code in again? Thank you. So once you're on our home page, there are a few different ways that you could search for a task. So I'm going to start with one way on the left-hand side of the screen. You could see me scrolling over it. It says find your project. So you could select by any subject. Our tasks are interdisciplinary or cross-curricular, whatever you would like to say. You could leave it on any subject, and you could select a grade band that you would like to find a task, and you'll see we are pre-K to 12th grade. Or you could search another way by specific content area. So let's say I wanted to find a task that was specific to science. I could select science. And you could even narrow it down further with some filters. Let's say you wanted a specific life science task, and you could choose a grade band again, and you would simply hit find projects. So a couple of ways you could search there. And I also want to point out, you could also search on the right-hand side of the screen. We have a resource box. And in that resource box, there is a live link that's titled Search by Standards. So you could also search different tasks by specific state standards, and your login, when you're logged in by your school, you will have your Connecticut state standards there. So that is an additional way that you could search for a task. So I'm going to go back to my favorite way to search. I like searching with any subject. And for today's purposes, I'm just going to select grade bands 3 to 5, and I will simply click Find Projects. And it will bring you to an alphabetical ordered list of our performance tasks that are offered by that criteria I used at the beginning search. Now, just in case you change your mind and you want to filter even further, or you changed your mind and you don't want it to be any subject and you want a specific subject, on the left-hand side of your screen, you could filter even further. By me saying any subject and grades 3 to 5 that I originally chose, you'll see in the top left where I am, or in your top left, I found 39 different performance tasks. And that was just any performance task, any subject, grades 3 through 5. But let's say you change your mind and you want grades 2, 3, and 4, you don't want 5. You could filter again, just make sure you hit filter on the bottom left, and you'll see that now I found 85 performance tasks. It keeps changing depending on your filters. So for today's purposes, I'm going to go ahead and just select any task. I'll take our animal shelter manager task. It's labeled as a grade 4 task. And you'll click that task, and it brings you to a page that looks like this. You have a green ribbon at the top. We are in project preview mode, and you noticed from Lynn's screenshots when she was taking you through some of her tasks, you noticed these tabs on the left-hand side. All of our tasks are set up the same way, so it's very easy to get used to, and they're set up for the students the same way as well. We are in the teacher view, just to make that clear. The students will not see all of this. I'll point out some standards and things for you as well. So I'm at the green ribbon at the top, and I could preview the entire task. This is the career video that you heard Lynn reference, and some guided questions that are already in the site for you, but you could edit anything and everything within the site. So they are the student check-ins to add some accountability and some data that you have throughout the task. And as you continue on, you see tab number 2, explore the background, and you'll notice the big ideas and essential questions. And here's the GRASP model that you heard Lynn reference, and I said that all the tasks are set up with it. So we already have the goal, the role, the audience, the situation, and here are all the products set up for your students as well. So let me highlight this particular sketch that's in here. You'll notice that we also have rubrics assigned to every single product as well. They are there for you to view, and the students could view them too, because obviously we want our students to have them in advance. And our rubrics are also customizable as well. And then because we are on the teacher side, you will notice that we do have some anchors, standards, research questions that are readily available for you as well. And then we have our do the research, and we add research resources. We have learning objects, which the kids absolutely love. They are little tutorials. I like to think of them as some drag and drop programs that the students like to do. Very easy for them to complete independently as long as they have their own devices and headphones. They could also be completed whole classroom, especially for our primary kiddos if we want to project whole classroom style. And we have some videos. This particular one, we have that career video from the front of the task that you saw at the beginning. And every task is a little different. Some of them have 2, 3, or 4 additional videos. And then we have our tab where we check in with the students. We have a video of the design process, and students submit their projects right here in this tab, and we have some final reflections for the students as well. And all of our tasks are set up the same way. So that's basically how you go ahead and select or preview a task. And then the second part I would love to highlight is at the top in that green ribbon bar. If you click customize, or if you are following along with me, now you could customize every single part of our tasks and really personalize them to meet the needs of your students. So you follow along with all the prompts, and you could provide a name, and we'll just call this one my draft. And these are the products associated with the tasks that you previewed, and you could simply turn off the products that you do not want your students to see. Every single thing that I'm doing here on the teacher side, when I assign this out to my students, they're only going to see what I left turned on for them. So once I decided I'll leave these 2 products on, I'll hit create and continue, and it will take me to my task. So you'll notice the tabs are labeled the same thing, but they are green now because I am in customizing mode. And you will notice there are blue dotted lines around every single part of the task. If you click inside the blue dotted lines, it basically becomes a Word doc, and you have all the features of a Word doc. And you could highlight different words if you want them to become vocabulary words for your students, if you want to bold them, if you want to change the text size, whatever you would like. And we just hit save after them, and you could basically edit anything at all that's in the blue dotted lines. And then I pointed out the guided questions that go along with the career video. You could edit those as well. You could remove them by the red X. You could also add a question if you would like for your students. So really you could customize every single piece of the task. And I would like to point out that in Explore the Background, you could customize the grass if you want to personalize it a little bit more to add your community business name, if you wanted to add your school name. They're great connections to really hook your students. And then I did mention those research resources. Same thing, there's those learning objects. Let's say that I wanted to let my students view the adding fractions. I'll leave it turned on, but maybe I really didn't want to hit equivalent fractions, so I would simply turn it off, and then that one would not be there for my students to view. Maybe I want area of a perimeter of a rectangle on, but I'm not doing multiplication of whole numbers. So you could see what I'm doing here. Basically, you could edit every single part of the task for your students. And then same thing with the products. There's that process video. We go over some brainstorming ideas to project out to your students. You can edit inside of those boxes as well. After editing the task, we have those student check-ins that I mentioned. So the student check-ins are available, just like the guided questions were there with the career video, but here they are again. These are the same ones. They're all labeled for you, student check-ins, the guiding questions that went with Set the Stage. So if you would like to leave them on, great. If you change your mind after, you could customize here, and you could simply go ahead and turn them off here as well. And you could see all of them, how they're applied to the products and the task and design process everywhere along the way, and the final reflections as well. And I would recommend leaving 1 or 2 student check-ins on per little tab, per the Set the Stage or Explore the Background, whatever works for your students. You could also customize and leave on certain skills and standards if that's a feature you would like to use for your school building. All right, and finally, the last part, you are ready, you customized it, you would like to share it with your students. So again, depending on grade level here, primary, if your students are 1-to-1 and you think you could push this out and use some independent pieces with them, by all means, it could be assigned to the entire class, each student individually. It could be assigned in teams. And there are step-by-step directions in the Assign Share tab. So I just using that green ribbon across the top. And personally, I think the easiest way to assign is directly to students, and you'll see that that's where we come to. You could also provide a link to the students, and I could also collaborate with other teachers or my building principal, and I could create a folder or a group, and I could drop my task in there to share with my principal or other teachers. But the easiest way, assigning directly to students, you'll follow the directions in this light blue box. And I am so used to Google Classroom, so I will just use that as my example. But in Google Classroom, what I do with my own students, I just copy and paste that address. I drop it in my Google Classroom. My students have that link ready for them. My students go to that link and they log in with Google, but it could be Clever, ClassLink, whatever your school is. And I simply, on my end, click Add Student, and you'll see that I have all my students in here, some fictitious students, but I'll go down to my class here. I simply want to assign this out to all my students in this class. So I say Add Selected. I get a nice little prompt asking me, is this sure what you want to do? Assign it to all of them. And I assign it, and it goes out to my students. And my students, like I said, will click their link in Google Classroom, and it will bring them to their defined learning dashboard so they could see it on their side. And what does that exactly look like? I know that everyone likes to see that. So in the top toolbar, it's dark gray. There is a little tab that says my classes. So I will go to my classes. I assigned it to my Wortman Winners class, and I will just go to Sunny Days and I will log in as my student. You will be able to do the same when you push it out. So I scroll across from the student's name and I click login as, and now this is what your students will see when they are, I'll use my Google Classroom again. When they click that link, they log in with Google and they come here and it welcomes them and it tells them it's their Define Learning dashboard. We even have a great quick video for them to view. Just a reminder how to use their dashboard in Sight, just so you know that's available for them. But here is that project that I just pushed out to them, my animal shelter, and they would click launch. And this is what it looks like from the student's side. And you will notice there's that introduction and their driving question, the career video for them to watch, and their student check-ins, the grasp, and you see all of that here. If I go to product, there they see the rubric, but you will notice they do not see anything with the standards from that educator view. And then remember, and do the research, I shut some of those learning objects off. So I'm just trying to show you, they only see what you leave turned on for them. And we do on the student side, we also have a listen feature. So the students could have things read aloud to them, and they also have access to a dictionary or translate.
What skills are needed to work at a zoo?
And that is the student workspace. And if I click Defined Learning, it will bring me back to the student homepage. I'm going to log out as the student to make sure I get back to our homepage. And I'm going to pause there.
I just wanted to also let everyone know, as Heather was modifying the actual activity, it didn't modify the original. So it actually took and made a copy of that project so that you can customize it to your needs and your student needs. Another thing I wanted to say is some teachers have gone in and have modified it for student groups. So they might have the same type of project or project activities that students would be doing, but they might be doing, one group might be doing these two products, where another group might be doing a different two products. So they can make as many copies as they want to of that original project and modify it or customize it to their student group's needs.
Thank you, Lynn. And I'm going to head back. And Mike, would you like to go ahead and address the group?
I would love to. Thank you so much, Heather and Lynn. That was a good presentation and really covered a lot of material, and it really is a great product. So thanks for sharing that. I want to be respectful of everyone's time. I know it's late in the day. I just want to introduce the fact that my name is Mike Spezialy. I'm a former Dean of Education and retired now, but I have a consulting company, and we do educational research for a lot of companies and a lot of different educational entities. We have been contracted to do a research study in Connecticut to take a look at the efficacy of using defined learning in the classroom. What I'm looking for are participants. So you've seen this product. If you're going to use it with your students, I would love to be able to talk to you a couple times over the next 5 or 6 months. That's really all this part of the research entails. We're doing some other stuff, but not with teachers face-to-face or in terms of interviews. So we're doing a qualitative piece, and what I'm looking for are some folks who would like to just sit down, probably via Zoom, and have a half-an-hour conversation sometime in March, and then maybe sometime at the end of the year. Really just an open conversation to talk about what your experiences are with defined learning, with the platform itself, what do you see in your kids, those kinds of things. It's a very simple conversation. All the data we collect from our end is confidential, so we don't share any names of any teachers or any students. But in the end, I think that the results that we generate, if they hold true to the other kinds of things we've seen in the research about project-based learning, would be very useful for teachers across the board, especially in the state of Connecticut. So as a follow-up to this, what I'm going to ask Heather to do is to provide me with the emails of all the folks who are on, everyone who's on right now. And basically what I'll do is send you an email in the next couple days and just ask you if you're willing to participate. And then I will set up a call with you sometime in March at your convenience. It could be any time of the day. I'll do it weekends, nights, whenever, daytime, it doesn't matter. We'll accommodate your schedule. And like I said, generally I've interviewed probably 20 people now. They're about a half an hour. So it really is not that time consuming, but it is very helpful to the cause of generating some good educational research for the teachers and students in Connecticut. So that's my plug, Heather. Back to you.
Thanks so much, Mike. And Lynn and I would like to open it up to any questions, comments, thoughts. We love to collaborate with you. We do have our email up on the screen, so feel free to take a screenshot and reach out to us personally if you have questions. And if not, we will just stay on. If you have questions for us, I could revisit the site if you have something specific that you would like to see, if you need anything at all. And if not, we will send this recording out to you. Thank you. You are very welcome. We appreciate you joining us today.
And if you have any questions after the fact, feel free to reach out to us. I'm also available, so feel free to reach out to me. My email is on the screen. I'm happy to share what we're doing in Stafford.
I'm going to jump off, guys. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time and look forward to working with you folks. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.